All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? How's it going? I am Is There No One Else? The video I'm bringing you today is a solo slash small scale Magicka Templar build that I've been running for the last couple of weeks for the Murkmire patch. Before we dive into the build, I want to give a shout out to another YouTube creator that helped me, come up with this build. I've been trying to find a light armor alternative for a while. I found his build. I really enjoyed it. I'm using one of the same sets as him. I will post a link to his YouTube in the description with his build. It is Aria ESO, his Phalanx build, which is fantastic. You guys should definitely go check it out. He's got a lot of really good information there. He did some of the heavy lifting for making me want to go out and get one of these gear sets. So with that being said, I'm going to dive into the gear, skills, CP, knock all that out right away, and then I'm going to go in depth on why I chose the sets that I chose, why I made a couple different set choices than he did, and why this build functions so well. So with that being said, let's dive into it. Let's look at the character sheet. So this is on our back bar, sword and board bar, unbuffed. So spell resistance are good, physical resistance good, critical resistance almost 2800, 37k max magicka, 15k health, almost 12k stam. Pretty good, but that would be good, if those were our stats. If we put our actual food on that we're running, we actually have pretty good everything. So we almost have 42k max magicka, 26 to 27k health in PvP. If we buff up with our rune, we are sitting at 36k spell. Breton passives are nice. 27k physical. And yeah, so this is a light armor build, 5 light, 1 medium, 1 heavy. Spell damage looks a little low, but it's really not bad. Spell crit, it's over 40% once we hit one of our skills. We hit pretty hard. If we go to our front bar, come on, buddy, go to the front bar. There we go. If we go to the front bar, 40,000 max magicka, 19.5 health, which is like 26k health. Yeah, and then 28 spell, 20k physical, 25 crit resist. So the only thing that this build doesn't have going for it right now is the low magicka recovery, but we're gonna get magicka in a few different ways, so you'll see it with what we're running. As far as consumables go, we're running tri-stat food, and we're running immovable pots, so immovable magicka and health pots. As far as the gear goes, the number one thing that we are running, or the first thing we're running, is Cyrodiil's Light. It is a very, very good set. Watching Aria's build is what made me want to go out and get this. It is not cheap. On Xbox, I could not find many of these pieces in the guild trader, so I had to go out and invest AP to get the weapons and to get the pieces that I needed to build around it. It cost me about 2.5 million AP. And this is the main reason I haven't tested Cyrodiil's Light on my own for a while, is because I just didn't want to invest 2 to 2.5 million AP in a set that I wasn't sure if I was going to use. Aria did that heavy lifting. He showed that it was really good. I really liked what it gives. Obviously 2, 3, and 4 piece, all amazing, all damage. The 5 piece, while you're casting or channeling an ability, your damage taken is reduced by 15%. When you're interrupted, your next magic ability cost will cost no magicka. This is a very, very good Magicka Templar set in general. It provides the tankiness that you need, and it provides a shit ton of damage. So a little bit of both. We were running defending dagger on the back bar, impenetrable shield, and then on the front bar we were running a sharpened Cyrodiil's Light lightning staff. Now, part of me kind of wants to run dual wield on this build, but I didn't. Like I said, I dropped 2.5 million AP on this, and I didn't see a single sword. I got the lightning staff first. Lightning staff is fine. It works for AoE damage. The light attacks will give us some recovery. I go back and forth on my ultimates. That's why I kind of want to run dual wield. Obviously for AoE ultimates, lightning staff is good, but if you ever go to soul assault, dual wield would be better. Yeah, we'll dive into that later. As far as monster sets, I go back and forth, but right now I think the best one is Pirate Skeleton. 2-piece Pirate Skeleton. You could go Bloodspawn. Scoria are the other options. Scoria is just amazing burst. It makes a lot of sense. However, on a light armor build, the meta for Stam Nightblades right now is like Bone Pirate and Spriggans, and so most Stam Nightblades are running around with about 16k pen, physical pen. And so if we take Pirate Skeleton off, we're sitting at around 20,000 resistances. So we're very tanky against Magicka classes, but we're not very tanky against Stam Nightblades. And so if a Nightblade catches us with a burst, you know, while we're wearing Scory or something, it's going to be tough to deal with. That's why I like the Pirate Skeleton, especially outnumbered, because all of a sudden, you know, we get major protection a lot. Our heals are amazing on this build because we're literally all damage, you know? So we're going to have really good heals, and so we're not really going to notice that debuff of the Pirate Skeleton, and it gives us that little bit of resistance that we need to, you know, survive as well. So the resistances are nice. It's not a big difference, but the major protection is what's really nice. So it's 12 out of 15 seconds. So when you're really getting beat on, this is going to be up all the time. It makes you really tanky. Really, really good. And then as far as the other set we're running 5-piece Desert Rose. Desert Rose is a pretty good set, especially for outnumbered Magicka builds. Spell resistance, max health, max Magicka, 2, 3, and 4 is all solid. And then when you take damage, you have a 15% chance to restore, or 2352 Magicka. This effect can occur once every 4 seconds. So if we math this out, it's roughly 1200 Magicka recovery if we have 100% uptime on Desert Rose. We're never going to have 100% uptime unless we're really fighting outnumbered, but we can have up to 1200 Magicka recovery with Desert Rose. So our 700 with this, with our rune, all adds up to a pretty good amount of recovery. We're running tri-stats on the big pieces. I tried this build a couple different ways. I'm running tri-stats on the chest and legs. You can run max Magicka on everything if you want that little bit extra damage. I did do tri-stat everything, and I tried to switch my food around. I lost a little bit of max stats and gained a little bit of recovery. I just switched it back. Put a lot of investment into this build, but there's not a big difference. But I just think you just get more out of the tri-stats. It's nice to get over the 25k health mark in a light armor build. You know, 26, 27, 28k is fantastic without losing a whole bunch of damage. Yeah. And then as far as jewelry goes, we're running all spell damage. We have one tri-stat. Once again, you know, you could do that. I just kind of want... It doesn't hurt you to have tri-stat, is all I'm trying to say. It doesn't hurt you to, you know, have as big of a pool for Stam Magicka and health. And so you don't lose a bunch of damage going with this over Arcane. If you wanted to go infused, you absolutely could. I'm going to look at that as well. I kind of like the higher Magicka pool because it buffs our Power of the Light. So that's why I'm running spell damage everything with one tri-stat. So as far as our CP goes, let's dive into it. Green Tree, 66 into Warlord, 43 into Arcanist, 43 into Tenacity. You honestly don't need a ton of points in Arcanist. You could take this down even lower if you wanted to and put more points into Tenacity, because we're going to get most of our return off for heavy attacks. That's up to you. 100 in a Shadow Ward, 18 in a Tumbling, 56 LE Expert, 39 Spell Erosion, 51 Elfborn, 49 in a Bless to boost our healing, 75 Thaumaturge, we're running a lot of dots, 48 Ironclad, 53 Resistant, 22 into Light Armor Focus, 49 Hardy, 49 LE Defender. We want 120 here for the Unchained passive. So, yeah. Unchained passive isn't a huge deal. Good. Well, ignore that. 49 Hardy, 49 LE Defender, 22 in the Light Armor Focused. We don't run any of the Thick Skin because, you know, I do a pretty good job of purifying. You know, when you get a bunch of debuffs on you, you purify. You're not going to have a bunch of damage over time effects on you as a Magplar anyways. I don't really see the point in putting a bunch of points into there. I'd rather pump points into quick recovery, get 49 into here, and to buff our healing received. So we're going to have really nice ticks on our Breath of Lifes or Honor the Deads or whatever. As far as skills go, on our front bar, we're running Sweeps, Shock Clench, Purifying Light. This one can be filled with 3 different skills, in my opinion. I'm running Radiant Oppression, but you can run Elemental Drain. You could also run Total Dark. I think Total Dark's a really good skill for this. Total Dark would fit here just perfectly. The reason I'm running Radiant Oppression is because we put out a lot of pressure on people, and sometimes they'll get out of range, and it's just nice having that finisher at range. You know, like people come in, you pop your bats, you start sweeping, they dodge roll, they start running away. Nobody's going to mistake this build for a high movement speed Stam Sork or a dodge rolling Stamina Nightblade. You know, we don't have movement speed. We're going to sit there, we're going to hold our ground, we're going to dish out damage. So if people run away, like this is what we're going to use to finish them. So I wanted this to finish kills. Reflective Light, this is our damage over time effect, can hit up to 3 people, increase our spell critical rating, that's why we're going to have over 40% crit. And I'm currently running Soul Assault, so this is my Soul Assault tooltip unbuffed. I go back and forth. I run Crescent Sweep, I run Destro ult. If I'm top-sided, I'm just running across a shit ton of people and I want to nuke some people before I die. Soul Assault is really great for, like I said, people that jump in and attack you and then they start getting away, and then you hit them with this and it just melts their health bar. It also works really well with Cyrodiil's Light because we're in channel. We take that 15% reduced damage. It's a really nice synergy to have. Basically, like we do a ton of damage, we take a little bit less damage, so it allows us to use this full Soul Assault. There will be some fights where you're fighting severely outnumbered and you can't get this off, and you're going to want to switch to Crescent Sweep. So I would have both. Yeah. Backbar, Extended Ritual, Honor the Dead. Running Honor the Dead because of the recovery that we get. Healing anyone who's below 75% health, restores 60% of the ability's cost over 6 seconds as Magicka. So this is going to be another way we sustain. When we're getting beat on, we're going to have Desert Rose proccing. When we're getting beat on and we drop below 75% health, we get a huge return off of this specific skill. So yeah, you could run Breath of Life, obviously. I would run a reduced spell cost or a recovery enchant on your jewelry if you do. But, I've been running around solo mostly on this build, so I wanted to run Honor the Dead for that reason. Elusive Mist. This is going to be our kite ability. This is going to be how we escape, remaneuver in the fight, and survive. Elusive Mist counts as a channel, so we take 15% less damage while we're in Elusive Mist. We're damn near unkillable when we have Elusive Mist and Cyrodiil's Light on. So when I was coming up with this build and when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to run, I wanted to be able to run, especially open world, I wanted to be able to run sets that synergized really well with our survivability skills. So I wanted to be able to run a lot of spell damage, a lot of max magicka, a lot of spell damage to buff our heals, and then I wanted to be able to run skills that still worked while we were in Mistform. Desert Rose, while we're getting attacked in Mistform, will proc, and it will give us Magicka Return. So we will get Magicka Return while we're in Elusive Mist. If we put our rune down before we go in Elusive Mist, we will get the Magicka Return off of that. And it also stacks for really high damage mitigation. So if all of a sudden you're getting focused by a bunch of people and you just can't really do a whole lot, you can bounce around in this a lot. Come out blocking, hit Breath of Life, and then go back into Mistform. And yeah, it's not going to be ridiculous, like you're not going to gain a ton of Magicka back and like get back to full and just be in Mistform and be that cheesy piece of shit. Like you'll lose Magicka, but this allows you to remaneuver when all of a sudden you run across 4 Nightblades that were stealth in a field and you were caught with your pants down. So works out really well. Channel Focus, this is going to buff our physical and spell resistance, and it gives us 240 Magicka every second. Turns out to 480 Magicka recovery roughly. Really good. Structured Entropy on the back bar, and Bats. Bats is our oh shit AoE ultimate. It heals us. It does good damage, especially with the amount of damage that we have. We can kill people with Bats with this, which is fantastic. That isn't always the case when people run Bats. So, yeah. So that's the setup, guys. If you guys are interested in knowing more, let's dive into it. Like I said, I wanted to try and find a set that synergized really well with Cyrodiil's Light and using Elusive Mist and using the channels. And I found that running Desert Rose works out really well. I mean, first of all, you get the resistance that's edited in there. The health is really nice, especially for a light armor build. The max magicka is obviously really nice. And when you're getting hit by 2 or 3 people, your recovery is great. This isn't a dueling build. You're not going to one-on-one with this. This is for open world. This is for sewers. This is for fighting outnumbered. and running light gives you that pen and it gives you that damage to finish people. And so, while still being tanky in Cyrodiil's Light. So, I really like how Cyrodiil's Light and Desert Rose work well together. I really enjoy that, you know, because of what both of those things do. You know, we have our set that gives us our damage mitigation, a little bit of damage mitigation with Cyrodiil's Light. We have our monster set, which gives us a bunch of damage mitigation. And then we have our other armor set that gives us a shit ton of recovery. So then what that allows us to do is just stack as much max magicka and as much damage as possible to really just put pressure on people. Yeah, so that's why I'm enjoying it so much. Obviously, light armor passives are really nice. You know, we get, if we dive into the light armor passives, you know, we get reduced effectiveness of snares by 4%, cost of sprint, whatever. Magic recovery by 4%, which isn't a big deal, but we have reduced magic cost of your abilities by 2% for each ability, which is great. Increased spell resistance, which is nice. Spell critical is buffed, and then our 5k spell pen, which is fantastic, which is why we're trying to run light armor. So, yeah. So even though our spell damage isn't super high, we have a high max magicka pool. We have good spell damage for a Magicka Templar, and then we're in light, and so that pen is just going to put us in a really good spot. If we hit, like I said, if we buff up and we hit with our Vampire's Bane, these are our stats now. We're at 40% crit, 2600 spell damage, 40k max magicka. We're not going to really have a problem killing anybody with this setup. So, what else am I missing here? Oh, as far as how you're going to play this goes, you know, it's going to be just like any other Magic Templar build. It is going to be a little bit tougher than a lot of my previous builds in the past, because all of my previous builds have just had, like, you know, static 2000, 2300, 2500 Magicka recovery. And so I've run higher Magicka recovery builds in the past, so it allows you to spam Breath of Life, it allows you to spam damage skills. This isn't going to function that way, you know. In a one-on-one situation, you're sometimes going to be in a rough spot without LE Drain on your front bar, because you know, you only have 700 recovery, and you put out so much pressure that the other person's going to go on the defensive a lot. They're going to hit you with dots, you're going to purify the dots, and then all of a sudden Desert Rose isn't proccing, and you're just going to be lower on recovery in a one-on-one situation. And so in those types of scenarios, when you find your health bar getting low, that's why we want to put the points into tenacity. You know, you're gonna dot up your target, and occasionally you're just going to have to put in a heavy attack to get that full return back in a one-on-one. Obviously, with the amount of damage mitigation we have, like, it's not a big deal. It does, like I said, it does become problematic in one-on-ones, but we're playing in Cyrodiil, we're never really running across a one-on-one. You know, in one-on-4s, one-on-5s, one-on-6s, that's where this build really shines. You know, we're tanky enough to where we can kite around, we can get around a corner, pop our bats, we can pop our, you know, crescent sweep, and we can dish out damage, and we can kill a couple people, and then we can move on. And then once we get to the one-on-one, after we kill 3 or 4 people, then that's when we have to, you know, if they're good, then that's when we have to really focus on make sure our stat pool is high enough, and then throw in a heavy attack here and there. But, you know, we'll be able to keep them dotted up, and we'll be able to apply pressure with them that way, and we'll just occasionally have to, you know, do our PvE Magsork setup. So, as far as the combination for this build goes, guys, you know, you always want to keep your rune down. This isn't going to be like the easiest, like I said, Magicka Templar build to play. We're running a really low recovery. We need our rune down to make us tanky. We need our rune down to give us the 480 Magicka recovery. You know, we're only running 700? 729. And so when we pop a pot, I want to say it runs up to 8. Yeah, so we're only running 800 Magicka recovery. So this jumps us up to 1300-ish. And with Desert Rose, that can put us up to a cap of about 25. I would say, in general, when you're fighting 2 or 3 on 1, it's going to feel like 2000 recovery. Which, as a Breton in light armor, is more than enough. Like, you'll be able to sustain just fine. Yeah, so as far as like how the damage goes, you know, you're going to buff up with your entropy. I do a light attack, Vampire's Bane, light attack, Purifying Light, and then I try to put a shock clench on before it hits. Before the purifying light hits, explodes, so that they take damage. So it would go entropy, Vampire's Bane, purifying light, one set of sweeps, and then shock clench to put them on the ground, and then it pops, and then you get that damage return there. Or if you have your ultimate, entropy, Vampire's Bane, purifying light, one set of jabs, soul assault, or radial sweep, whatever, and then your finisher, which is radiant. So there's a couple different ways to build it. Obviously, like if you're worried about recovery, like I said, add a recovery enchant. If you're worried about or reduce cost, some people might ask, how is this going to work in the next patch? I am a Breton on this build. Breton is going to get a huge reduced cost buff next patch. They're getting a little bit of recovery as well. The damage is going to be a little bit lower for this specific build, but our recovery is going to be a lot better because we're going from 3% reduced cost to 7%, so we're getting 4% more reduced cost, and we're gaining 100 magic recovery as a Breton. So we're going to hit slightly less hard, or we're going to sustain a lot better. Obviously, High Elf will work very well next patch. I'm going to try it on the PTS. High Elf with that 5% damage mitigation, stacking with Cyrodiil's Light puts us up 20%. I think that'd be really good as well. Obviously the 9% magic recovery currently on a High Elf for this build doesn't really mean a whole lot because 9% of nothing is still nothing. So the spell recharge that gives you, what is it, like 500 or 600 magicka every 5 seconds next patch when you use a class ability on a High Elf, that's also going to be really good. That's also going to allow us to sustain. So High Elf and Breton with this build is going to work very well next patch for those two reasons. High Elf is going to give you that higher finishing damage, which might be the route that I go. But Breton is just going to allow you to sustain a little bit more. You're going to lose a little bit of resistances because they're nerfing the resistances so far. Obviously the changes aren't final, but we're at 36k right now. So if we lose 1 to 2k, it jumps us to 35, 34k. We're still over the cap before major fracture and major breach is applied. So we're still in a pretty good spot. So this is going to transition very well into the next patch, barring any adjustments to this build, come tomorrow or this next week when the PTS comes out. So I think that's it. Oh, last thing. I wanted to show this really quickly because, I think it's important. But because we're running all damage, our heals are really, really nice with this. Our tooltip for Honor of the Dead right now is 12-7. When I take a resource or whatever and I have my continuous, this jumps up to almost 15,000. So our heals are amazing with this. We have really good self-heals, and we have really good resistances. This is part of the reason what makes us so tanky is because our damage is so high because we have a lot of healing done and healing received on this build. It allows us to survive really well. And so you're not going to sit here spamming Breath of Life 3 or 4 times. You're going to hit this essentially once or twice, and if it crits, you're back to full health. I hit a guy with before I adjust my CP and everything, I hit another person with a 15k Breath of Honor of the Dead a couple days ago. I've hit myself to full quite a few times. Yeah, so good damage, good sustain outnumbered. A little bit tougher to play. It's not the easiest cookie cutter build, so a lot of people might enjoy that. Obviously, this isn't the only way to go. Like I said, check out Arya's video. He's running Cyrodiil's Light, Scoria, and Spinners, if I remember correctly, with protective jewelry. Also, obviously, a very, very good build. A little bit more set on the damage aspect. I wanted to be set more in the recovery so that I could just go all damage. So instead of running protective, I'm running spell damage jewelry. And then I'm utilizing Desert Rose that I can also use in Mist form. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you have any comments. Maybe there's something I could run that I could improve this build. Maybe I need an adjustment. I am really enjoying Cyrodiil's Light though. Cyrodiil's Light was worth the investment. I highly recommend as a Magplar going out to get it, especially if you want to run light and you want to get away from the heavy meta and still be tanky. I think it's just an amazing set. It allows you to go on the offensive without having to immediately go on the defensive. That's been my biggest problem with running light on a Magplar is every time I try to go offensive, I'm just getting hit so hard I got to go back on the defensive bar. And Cyrodiil's light just gives you that little bit of damage mitigation to where you can finish. So yeah, that'll be it. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please comment in the section below. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.